Hello everyone, welcome back to SSBCrack exams. My name is Sakshi and we are going to discuss daily current affairs and we are going to discuss some of the most important news for you as per 8th September 2020. Before beginning, I would like to introduce you with SSBCrack exams. It is one of the leading institution if you're preparing for defense examination like NDA, CDS, AFCAT, Territorial Army. For more details, you can visit our website. There you'll find the courses, mock tests, quizzes and study materials. You can also follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, and you can also follow us on our YouTube. And do not forget to download our mobile app SSBCrack exams. So let's start our session. So first of all, we are going to discuss about the question of the day. And the question I asked you yesterday, it was what counts as act of God? What counts as act of God? See, it is also known as force measure, or you can say act of God. It is a clause which has its origin in the Napoleonic Code. See, FMC, the force measure clause, it is a clause that is present in most of the commercial contracts and it is a carefully drafted legal arrangement in an event of a crisis. Let me explain you each point about this. See, the law of contracts is built around fundamental norms that the parties must have to perform on that contract. When a party it fails to perform its part of the contract, the loss of the other party is made good, right? But this particular law, force measure law, it carves out expectations when performances of contract become impossible to the parties. When it becomes impossible to the parties to perform such contract, right? A force measure clause is one such that exception that releases the party of its obligation. And it releases the party of its obligation to an extent when events go beyond their control and they take place, right? And it leaves them unable to perform their parts of the contract. So this particular FMC, it is a exception. And when the clause is triggered, the parties, they decide to break their obligation temporarily or permanently without necessarily breaching the contract. Generally, an act of God is understood to include only natural, unforeseen circumstances. And under that, war, riots, natural disasters, strikes, introduction of new government policy, imposing an embargo, these all comes under the particular clauses. Now we can also count outbreak of epidemics, right? So recently I told you our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji, she attributed to the shortfall of GST collection, and she attributed the shortfall of GST collection to disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And she said the economy is facing an act of godlike situation. Okay. Now let's start our day with most important update that we have. So first World Solar Summit, Technology Summit is about to happen. Today, the first World Solar Technology Summit is being organized and it is being organized by International Solar Alliance, ISA. ISA is organizing the first World Solar Technology Summit and it is expected to bring spotlight on accelerating affordable and sustainable clean green energy by showcasing and deliberating on new state-of-art next generation technology in the solar power. So under this particular summit, more than 26,000 participants from 149 countries, they have registered to join to this virtual summit. Now let me tell you what all are the initiatives that are going to be launched under this particular summit. So under this summit, they are going to launch 8 initiatives, and these are Solar Photovoltaic Technician Skill Development Initiative, ISA CARE Initiative, Undergraduate Program for Small Island Developing State and Least Developing Countries, Prize Exploratory Global Bid for Energy that will provide access to 47 million households through the solar parks, Advisory for Manufacturers, it will be providing advisory to the manufacturer to produce solar kits based ventilators. Action plan will be there to develop 20 gigawatt of solar park. World Solar Bank is also proposed and a new website for ISA it will be launched. Okay, so these are the initiatives which are going to be launched. Now moving ahead with the next important update that we have today, it is about the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, FCRA. Okay, so under this, licenses of 6 NGOs, they have been suspended under FCRA by Home Ministry. Home Ministry suspended 6 NGOs licenses, and these among this these 6 NGOs, 4 are the Christian association. So now NGO, they can no longer receive fresh foreign funds. So first of all, we need to understand what is FCRA. What is FCRA? See, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. It is a foreign funding for voluntary organization in India. It is an act which regulates foreign funding of voluntary organization in India. It is implemented by Ministry of Home Affairs. FCRA regulates the receipt of funding from the sources outside India to NGOs who are working inside India. Please read it carefully. Funding from sources outside India to NGOs who are working inside India. The act, it also prohibits the receipt of the foreign contribution for any activities detrimental to the national interest. Okay. Also, it is mandatory to have a FCRA clearance for any organization to receive foreign funds. You will have to get the FCRA clearance from the Ministry of Home Affairs. From the Ministry of Home Affairs, you will have to get this mandatory clearance. Then only you can receive the foreign funds. NGO, they are required to register themselves every 5 years as well, right? So these were the provisions. Now the news was the 6 NGOs have been suspended and the reason is not given by the government so far. So we discussed everything about this. Now moving ahead, next important update is about the Moplah rioters, not freedom fighters. It is a report. So recently a report was submitted to ICHR, Indian Council of Historical Research, and the report was submitted to 2016. It had recommended delisting of the Wagon tragedy victims and Malabar rebellions, and those leaders are Ali Mushliar, Variam Kunnath and Ahmad Haji. The report, it submitted its recommendation that they want to remove these names from the rebellion. So the report, originally known as the Dictionary of Martyrs, and it was published in the year 2019 by ICHR only. And this particular report, it listed that these three were the chief architects of the Moplah massacre. So let us understand what was Moplah rebellion. Moplah rebellion is a part of the Khilafat movement, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi ji and early brothers in 1921-22, which was the part of non-cooperation movement, right? The location for this particular rebellion was Kerala's Malabar coast. That is why it is also known as the Malabar rebellion. It involved Moplah Muslims of regions, and the rebellion happened because the resistance which started against the British colonial rule and feudal system. Later on, it ended with the communal violence between the Hindu and Muslim communities. And after that, after a short period, Britishers, they suppressed the rebellion. What happened after that is that it was Wagon tragedy. Under Wagon tragedy, Moplah rebels farmers, those were arrested. They were herded into a windowless wagon without food and water, and they are to be transported to the Coimbatore prisons. They died due to suffocation, and there were total, in the Wagon tragedy, there was a death of 64 prisoners on 20th November 1921. This particular horrific incident, it came to be called as the Jallianwala Bagh of the South, right? So this is all about this particular news. Let's move ahead. The next important update is about the today, 8th September. It is celebrated as International Literacy Day. 8th September celebrated as International Literacy Day at the 14th session of UNESCO's General Conference in the year 1966. The first ever International Literacy Day. It was declared, and since then it has been celebrated annually on 8th September. It is celebrated to make people aware about the importance and the literacy, which no doubt is the matter of dignity and human rights. So International Literacy Day is celebrated since then. So international literacy, it is also the component of the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And this year the theme focuses on the literacy, teaching and learning in the COVID-19 crisis and beyond. This is the theme for this year: literacy, teaching and learning in the COVID-19 crisis and beyond. Okay. So now let me tell you the current COVID-19 situation in India. As per 7 September 2020, total cases are 42,04,613. Recovered are 32,50,427. Active cases are 8,82,542 and deaths are 1.7%, 71,642. In this particular chart, you can see the current, the 5 states that account for total 62% of the total active cases in the country. And these states are: Maharashtra is all-time leading, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and rest of the country contains 37.88%. Okay. Now it is time for quiz. Try to answer these questions. First question is: first World Solar Technology Summit being organized by A. the International Solar Alliance, B. SCO, C. World Bank, and D. United Nations Environment Programme. So it is being organized by International Solar Alliance, ISA. Okay. Now the next question is: the FCRA regulates the receipt of funding from A. sources inside India to NGOs working in India, B. sources outside of India to NGOs working in India, C. both, and D. none. So the correct answer is sources outside of India. That is why it is known as foreign contribution. Sources outside India to the NGOs who are working in India. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Now the next question is: under FCRA, NGOs are required to register themselves in how many years? 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So the correct answer is in every 5 years, NGOs are required to register themselves. Now it is time for question of the day. Try to answer this particular question in the comment section. So the question for you is: what is Kishore Vaigyanik Protsahan Yojana? What is Kishore Vaigyanik Protsahan Yojana? Try to answer this question in the comment section, and we shall discuss the complete detailed analysis and answer for this particular Yojana, Kishore Vaigyanik Protsahan Yojana. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Till then, stay tuned, work hard. Jai Hind.